32 days into the government shutdown, and two congressional Republicans have emerged as the biggest critics of their own party's handling of it. One of them is California Congressman Kevin Kiley, who has been urging Speaker Johnson to call lawmakers back to Washington. The other, I'm sure you're familiar with.
I'm deeply angry. I'm deeply disappointed. I'm actually to a level of pure disgust that we are wasting the opportunity that we have and not solving the problems. I'm so angry at my own party, and I'm angry at all the men in leadership in the House and the Senate. And I'm like, you guys are weak and pathetic.
And one of those two members of Congress joins us now, Congressman Kevin Kiley from California. So, Congressman, I feel like it's Groundhog's Day because you were on a couple weeks ago when we were talking about exactly the same thing. And it's not like there has been much movement at all. Or is there anything happening behind the scenes that is moving this shutdown to a conclusion?
I mean, you're right. I would have hoped in the last 2 weeks this thing could have been brought to an end. I do think there are some encouraging signs. I've actually had a number of conversations with people on both sides of the aisle that have been constructive, and we're hearing, that things might be getting close to moving somewhere over in the Senate. So I think there's some hope. But I mean, the situation is really urgent right now. We're talking about folks potentially missing their SNAP benefits. The situation with flights has gotten very bad with air traffic controllers not being paid now. All the folks being furloughed, all the services being shut down. I mean, we need to find some way to get out of this mess immediately.
Congressman, I know you have sponsored legislation to get SNAP benefits flowing again. Two federal judges ruled yesterday ordering the administration to resume those payments in some fashion. Why bother sponsoring legislation on this when, as these judges have determined, the administration has the power through contingency funds to get that money out? It seems as if they're withholding the funding precisely to inflict more pain in order to gain some leverage on this issue. Why not call them out on that?
Well, no, my view is just we have to get the benefits to people whatever way we can. I mean, people depend on these benefits to feed themselves and their families. So obviously the easiest way to do that is just be to open the government and then SNAP benefits resume. Or we could pass the bill that I'm co-sponsoring, which would provide an appropriation for full SNAP benefits even during the shutdown. Or sort of as the last resort, the administration is now saying that, according to the judge, they have the legal authority to tap this contingency fund. The problem is that there's only enough money in there for partial payments for a month. I mean, it's really just a Band-Aid that isn't going to get people the help that they need. What we need is an appropriation that will actually allow for the full resumption of SNAP benefits going forward.
Congressman, what did you make of the Great Gatsby party at the White House last night?
I wasn't invited, so yeah, I can't tell you.
Well, I mean, I'm more the optics is what I'm asking. Do you think that was the right move for Republicans to attend a party? Literally, I think there was like a tagline attached to it, like a little party never killed nobody or something like that. I mean, as people are literally on the brink of going hungry.
I honestly didn't see it. I know that there have been, I personally have been careful. I've been doing fundraisers, that sort of thing, while the shutdown has been going on. So I don't know what the party was all about, but I do think that, that none of it changes the fact that people are really suffering right now in a lot of different ways. And it's because of the failure of politicians in Washington, D.C. to do their job. And I think that's why people are just so disillusioned with Congress right now. I just saw a new poll showing Congress has a 13% approval rating, which, puts Congress on par with Putin and Kim Jong-un. I mean, and this is why, because people see these just failure to do our most basic job here in Washington and millions of people having to pay the price.
Congressman, the last time we had you on, we asked about one of Democrats' key demands that hasn't gotten as much attention, which is whether there should be some language in a new CR that makes it harder for the president to unilaterally cut funding that has been appropriated by Congress, which, according to the Constitution, Congress is supposed to have power of the purse. In particular, we asked you about the fact that $232 million worth of energy projects have been canceled in your own district by the energy secretary. At the time, you said, well, something to the effect of, these are hard decisions that have to be made because of the shutdown. We actually looked into it, and this has nothing to do with the shutdown. This is funding that was previously appropriated by Congress. The shutdown is about funding that would be coming in the future. So again, I just want to ask you again, do you think that the president and his OMB director should have the ability to unilaterally cut funding like those projects in your district that has been appropriated by Congress?
Yeah, so the projects, we have looked into that, and I'm definitely going to do everything I can to make sure that funding gets restored.
Trump acknowledging it yesterday in a post on Truth Social, but what's still so unclear this weekend and heading into next week is when these SNAP benefits are going to start up again for the millions of folks across this country who rely on them. Christina?
All right, Jillian, thank you. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman from Pennsylvania, Brendan Boyle. He's the ranking member on the House Budget Committee. Congressman, so 2 judges have now ordered the Trump administration to continue SNAP funding, but there's 42 million Americans who could still see a lapse in those benefits, and 39% of them are children. What can Democrats, what can Congress, what can Americans do, if anything, to get the administration to get these funds out faster as ordered? And what is the delay here?
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you. And in addition to those who are children, I would point out 2/3 of all of those who are on SNAP are either children, seniors, or those with disabilities. Now, we have had 2 different courts order this White House to release the contingency funds. That's why the contingency fund was set up in the first place, for a situation much like this. And what is so disturbing, even beyond just the SNAP program itself, the fact that this president and this White House is now ignoring 2 court orders, that has ramifications not just for the 42 million people who are on SNAP. It also has all sorts of ramifications for all 340 million of us in this country if we have a president who is so willing to blatantly ignore court orders.
Well, that president says Democrats could end this. We've got some sound we want you to take a look at.
All they have to do is say the government is open, and that's the end of it. And, largely, when you talk about SNAP, you're talking about largely Democrats. But I'm president. I want to help everybody. I want to help Democrats and Republicans. But when you're talking about SNAP, if you look, it's largely Democrats. They're hurting their own people.
Congressman, what's your response to that?
Well, Donald Trump revealed in that answer, he tends to say the quiet parts out loud, by the way, and this was another instance of that. Donald Trump and other Republicans in Congress genuinely believe that most poor people in this country live in urban areas, aren't white, and vote Democratic, when in reality, 2/3 of those states that are most dependent on SNAP are red states. They're states that happen to have large rural areas, rural counties, by the way, that tended to vote by 2-to-1 margin for Donald Trump. So, their malice toward poor people in this country is awful, but it's also ill-informed because they're hurting a lot of poor folks who are both Democrats, Republicans, as well as independents and non-voters. We have to stop looking at them based on partisanship and recognize these are our fellow Americans who are hurting, and they are being hurt by Donald Trump and the Republican majority.
So why can't that argument, fellow Americans in need, why can't that bring lawmakers more to the table? We've got some new numbers out from a Washington Post poll this week that shows 45% of Americans blame Donald Trump and Republican lawmakers for the shutdown, while 33% blame congressional Democrats. That's not nothing. What are you hearing from your Republican colleagues, and is this starting to concern them? And is there any concern among Democrats that as this drags on, everybody's going to lose?
Well, I'm certainly deeply concerned about the millions of Americans.
So, folks, the infighting is getting worse. Trump continues to anger his own party because it's indefensible. It's indefensible. I understand, right-wing ideology. It's the free market, blah, 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 blah. But, when you get on the ground, it's indefensible. What Trump has done doesn't, this isn't the Romney era. This isn't the Bill Clinton, Newt Gingrich hyper neoliberal era. People are more awakened to inequality, and that includes a lot of Republicans. Not enough Republicans, but a lot of them. And they see how the big corporations get the tax cuts. They see how the rich people get the tax cuts. They see how people who commit crimes, but they're for rich people. They're seeing it. They're seeing the swamp. What Trump is doing right now is the swamp. And then on the other hand, they see poor people losing everything. And I understand there's the traditional right-wing argument is the poor people that you're hearing complaining are undeserving. And you still see a lot of Republicans parroting that talk point. But more and more, I think because of social media to a degree, that trick isn't working anymore. Like when Ronald Reagan, blamed the welfare queen and like the media allowed it, and Democrats, a lot of Democrats bought in. Bill Clinton bought into that. It made it really difficult to defend social assistance recipients. Nowadays, though, not only has the data been clear all along, the vast majority of people who get food stamps work for it and or are disabled and or have kids. The amount of like undeserving people, and frankly, I think anybody should get it that needs it. I don't care about qualifiers personally, but even if you do, the amount of undeserving recipients is super small. Vast majority of people are the good ones, and people see that. And because people see that, they see lavish parties at Mar-a-Lago, their neighbors, their family, their loved ones starving, and even a lot of right-wingers don't like it.